Thank you everyone for being here. So yes, my name is Celia. I have a PhD in psychology and specialize in child development, actually. And I've worked at VTech, Ubisoft, and LucasArts in the past. And I've been working at Epic Games now for 4 years as director of UX for Studio, working on AAA titles like Paragon or Fortnite, which has been out a couple weeks ago. So note that the views expressed in this presentation are my own. There's a lot to say. In 15 minutes, it's obviously impossible. So I hope the angle I decided to narrow it down to will resonate with you. But first, let's play a little game. Here are 4 cards. Each of them has a letter on one side and a number on the other side. 2 of these cards are shown with a letter side up and 2 with a number side up. So which cards do you need to turn over to determine whether the following claim is true? If there's an A on one side, then there's a 3 on the other side. Only answer if you don't know about this already. So what do you think? So there's a claim. I'm going to put that up. If there's an A on one side, I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, the claim is if there's an A on one side of the card, there's a 3 on the other side. What card or cards do you need to turn over to verify that the claim is true? None? All right, who says A and 3? Okay. Who says only A? All right, are there any other ideas? All right, so in deductive reasoning, an argument is invalid if the premise, A, is true, but the conclusion is false, so 3 in that case. So you need to turn over A to verify that, yes, if A, then there's 3 on the other side. You do not need to turn over 3, as even if we find another letter behind it, it won't invalidate the arguments. However, you need to turn over 7, because if there's an A behind that card, then you have then A, then 7, and this would invalidate the arguments. So that was a study from Watson, and in his study, not even 10% of subjects found the correct solution, so don't feel bad about it. Even though we all believe we have good logical skills, this is not because we're stupid, it's because our brains tend to take shortcuts using contextual information. But what if I now reframe the puzzle in such a way that it's more intuitive for you to answer? Say that you start your shift in a bar and you need to check if no one underage is drinking alcohol. 4 people are currently in the bar, and you know that one person has a drink with alcohol in it, 1 person has a glass of Coke, 1 person is 21, and 1 person is 17. Who do you need to check then? It's clear that you need to check the person who's drinking alcohol to verify that that person is over 21, and you need to check the person who's 17 to verify that there's no alcohol in their drinks. So it means that context, by reframing the puzzle in a more intuitive context, it helps our brains to make a more logical decision. But it also means that context can also make our brains make an irrational decision. Let's take another one. Again, don't answer if you already know this one. But there's a bat and a ball that cost $1.10 total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? I'm impressed. No, it was actually good answer for the rational thought. So if you think it's 10 cents, it's just because you've been set up by the context, but it's actually 5 cents. This is part of the puzzle that was tested by Shane Frederick in this cognitive reflection test, among other puzzles. He tested that with MIT students, and turns out that 83% of MIT students answered wrongly to at least one question. So it's not because we lack logical skills, it's because it's less costly for our brain to use shortcuts. Again, our brain is just lazy like that. So the brain is extremely good at very quickly making sense of the world with little information. That's how we survived our predators. So all the mistakes the brain makes are insignificant trade-offs in the scale of evolution. However, we need to be aware of our limitations of these biases to avoid being manipulated and to build a fair society. This is a chart of most cognitive biases, which you can find on Wikipedia. It's quite overwhelming and scary. You can't see all of them, but it's just to show the massive amount of biases here. So we believe that we have an accurate perception of the world, that we have an accurate memory, that we can multitask. We believe that we're in full control of our decisions, that we have free will, that we can understand others, that we are logical beings. It's all a lie. Christopher Graves demonstrated this brilliantly in his keynote yesterday. Don't believe you're going to make the most logical and efficient decisions most of the time, because you won't. Don't assume others make irrational decisions because you think they're dumb. We all have limited capacities and to reason rationally, and we're mostly unaware of it. That's where it's dangerous. So how are these related to video games? Let's do one last little game. I'm going to show you some cards. I'm going to pick one and remember that card. You ready? Pick one. All right. I bet I can guess which card you chose and make it disappear. Did it work? I changed all the cards. So yeah, I know I'm terrible. This is actually what magicians do. They play with our attention. And this particular bias is called change blindness. We're actually pretty bad at noticing obvious changes. This is what it is, and that's okay. We need to be aware of it. And so game developers are like magicians. They carefully craft the game environment to make players go through a certain experience in the game. We manipulate perception, attention, memory, motivation, emotion, game flow to ensure players will enjoy the game. Minding the brain limitations when designing a product is what we call user experience, or UX. To improve game UX, for example, we use human factors knowledge, so it's mainly cognitive psychology. We use user research method, the scientific method, to test our games. We collect data through direct observation in playtests, via surveys, looking at the forums, and through telemetry once the game is live or in beta. It's not particularly easy to do, but with iterations, this is how we can actually improve our games. So in the end, we benefit from UX because it makes games more successful, and players benefit from it because it makes their experience more enjoyable. But what happens when these techniques are used for dark patterns? So take a look at this. What if I use my knowledge in psychology and cognitive biases to make you believe that, as it's often the case, buying a 12-month subscription, like on the right, is more interesting financially than buying month to month? Pro tip, the one on the right is actually 11 cents more expensive than if you pay month to month. Just because we're not going to calculate that, we believe that it's the way to be. When you pay, for a longer term, pay less. This is what we call dark patterns in UX. It's using tricks, like magicians, not to entertain you, but to deliberately fool you. So these tools, knowledge, and methodology, which are at the core of UX pillars, can be used to design better games and better educational tools, but it can also be used for dark patterns. It's then about designing an environment in such a way to manipulate our opinions and behaviors. And like we saw before, we can easily fall prey to cognitive biases without even realizing it. And this is where it's actually a problem. So who are the people designing the online world, that environment we surf on every day, that children explore so frequently, and what is their intent? What behavior are they trying to make us have? It is these dark patterns and the exploitation of human brain limitations that led to the explosion of fake news. The fake news has always existed, for sure, but it has dramatically increased lately. So what is fake news? Just briefly, it can be just unverified or sloppy claims. It could be satire. But worse, it could be deliberately misleading news or propaganda. This graph is showing in black the Facebook engagements for top election stories from mainstream media, so that's the black line going down, and in red from straight up fake news, which surpassed mainstream media around election day last year. So it's pretty dramatic. Why is this happening now? I have a few elements for your consideration. First, it's increasingly easy to make. It's super easy to create a meme, to Photoshop a photo, to create and edit a video. Anyone can do that now. Secondly, it's easy to spread them using bots and taking advantage of algorithms, such as those shaping Google or Facebook. Once a fake news is trending, algorithms make them spread even more. So top results on search engines and top stories on your social media feed is what is most clicked and shared, not what is true or verified. So every time you share a fake news, even if you do so to denounce it or make fun of it, you actually participate in spreading it. Lastly, it's a powerful tool to manipulate people, and or it's also a way to make easy money. If you have ads on your website, then the more a page is shared, the more money you get. So the more sensational and clickbaity the stories on your website, the better. One thing that many of these fake news and manipulation tools have in common is that they're often free. Take free Facebook quizzes, for example. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have taken a quiz on Facebook lately? Not too many. Okay, how many of you check the EULA and how your data is going to be used? That great. A few people. Awesome. Continue to do that. But what if the data that you're freely giving in exchange for answering a quiz is used to tailor dark patterns and fake news that you will most likely fall prey for? This is not to say that everything free is suspicious. Many games, experiences are free, but you know that developers are going to get paid for their hard work thanks to microtransactions, for example. Also, free content and platforms like Wikipedia and open source software can obviously give people the means to create and collaborate. However, whenever something is free and it's not clear why or who is behind it, ask yourself what is the real cost for it. And we really should do that all the time. One last thing that is creeping me out is that even if you're trained in recognizing dark patterns and cognitive biases, it's becoming really hard to discriminate fake from real. This is a short video that I edited myself about a tool created by the University of Washington. It's just been out a couple weeks ago. It's allowing to lip sync an Obama video using any audio. It looks like that. So the change video is on the right and the original audio is on the left. So as new platforms are being created, even more immersive than ever before, we as game developers, world creators, and environment designers all have to ask ourselves, are we participating in building a real alternate reality? And who is going to participate in designing this metaverse? Social media will be there, so will people with bad intentions, trying to sell us stuff or exploiting our limitations and biases, and even manipulating our opinions and shaping our behaviors. As Carl Bergstrom said in his series Calling Bullshit, you can watch on YouTube, fake news is an attack on democracy. So what can we do to stop it? I just have a few ideas for you here. Of course, it's a deep subject, but we need to teach even more cognitive biases, logical fallacies, and human limitations overall. Too many people, children, adults, seniors, are not aware of these. And knowing about these biases is the first step to fight against them. It's not enough, but at least you need to be aware of them. We need to teach even more about media literacy. A lot of people, like most people actually enjoying the internet, don't understand the algorithms filtering their window to the world. We can't burst our bubble if we don't know that it's there and how it works. We need to fight for net neutrality and for more regulations so that people who are deliberately trying to manipulate us are at least having a harder time to do so. And we should not accept bullshit, and we should keep calling it out, but without participating in spreading it. So if you want to call out some bullshit, don't share the article. take a snapshot of it, share that snapshot, but don't share the article. And that's it. You can check the calling bullshit on YouTube. It's really interesting. And I know that we can do Q&A, but I'll be right outside. And please connect with me on social media if you have any questions. Thanks so much for your attention.